Hello, 7th graders. This is the video on our new standard, Reflect and Explain Important Information About Artwork, Personal Artwork. I have the rubric for you here. I did it in pyramid form today. You guys might have the strip of paper I gave you in class. If you lost it, if I forgot to give it to you, if you weren't in school, all you need to do is copy down these. We've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. I have vocabulary for you that you should write down under your rubric. You should also put these words and their definitions in the very back of your notebook. I'm going to be looking for an infographic. You need this. And then in your written notes, you're going to see that's for me, it's a reminder. I have all sorts of blanks that you want to fill out. And I'll do my best to make sure I point to these blanks and give you a really clear idea of what you need to put there, right? Okay, let's go. So there are 4 steps to reflecting and explaining important information about personal artwork. The first thing you need to do is create your work, and I will know that you did that by you turning it in physically. And then you're going to be able to describe personal choices you made when creating art. After that, you will move on to, and this is where we're working on getting on this semester, reflecting and explaining important information in our artwork. And if you nail that and would like to see what lies beyond, we will begin working on not only explaining and reflecting, but also planning for growth in our artwork. Okay? We do have 6 vocabulary words. I smushed one in right there, so that's going to be number 2. And then 4, 5, 6. So when we reflect, we ask and answer important questions so we can understand our emotions, strengths, weaknesses, and our motivations. 2. Motivations are the reasons that we have for doing the things that we do. Sometimes they are external motivations, like money. Sometimes they are internal motivations, like it makes me feel good, or that made me feel bad. Explain is to make clear to somebody by giving reasons as an excuse or a justification. A justification is why doing that thing was right. Important information in artwork is the things that will help us, your viewers, understand your motivations and message in the art. These are things that you can point to. Context is all of the events, thoughts, experiences that were also happening when the artwork was created. So it's the bigger picture. And artist statement is a piece of writing or a recording that artists use to communicate the reflections, motivations, and other important information in their work. We do this because we can't always be there when people want to know. Okay? All right. This is a little infographic on the artist statement that I would like you to copy down. So here's our artist statement. It's about our artwork, right? But more than just our artwork, it's also about the context it was created in, things that are contextual or fit into that context are maybe religion, your health, the community that you're in, your culture, or the people in your lives, as well as events. I forgot about events. Important information is here. It's the stuff in the artwork. For example, there's a very nervous look on this person's face. There's lightning up here and gray clouds in the sky. It's important information that helps us understand what's going on in it. All of this is in the artist's statement, as well as the artists. You can draw you here, I drew me. Their reflections about their motivations, the way they were feeling, what was going on, right? And their explanations of the important information, right? In the artist statement. Now, these reflections help the artist grow, right? Into the future and get better at what they do. That's what's good about the artist statement for the artist. I'm going to teach you how to reflect and explain, right? Now, for the viewer, when they look at it, especially when they have the information from the artist statement, it helps them understand you, relate to you, or maybe understand why it's hard to relate to you. It makes them think, and it makes them feel emotions too. Okay? I'm going to make a poster of that one day. Okay, so let's move on to my examples. I have to take this off. Okay. I have here that I need to reflect on the Yosemite painting and the eclipse trees. Let's see if I can do this. So this is the Yosemite painting that I'm talking about. There's actually a third Yosemite painting that I'll show you in a second. And this is the eclipse painting. Okay? So contextual things that were going on. Actually, we'll do that one in a different one. Sorry. I got lost. Okay. So important. Here we go. Let's reflect on the trees in this. There we go. I'm sorry. There's just so much. This is why we write rough drafts. So the trees in this painting I made really, really fast. You'll see them in the background. They're kind of like silhouettes, right? I took a fan brush and I went blah, 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 and they came out really, really good. Because I had such great success with that technique, I decided to try it when I made these trees. And I don't think it looks quite as good. The hard question that I'm going to ask myself is, why did it work so well in the eclipse painting, but not in this Yosemite painting? And I think the reasons are that the eclipse painting, the trees are silhouettes. They're much darker, so there's not as much detail that you can see. In these ones, there's a lot more light, so there should be more variation in the colors of those trees, and they're also smaller. So maybe I needed a different type of brush. I don't know. Next, reflection. This painting, a little bit of contextual information. It's actually a really, really big rock wall, and I was way down below it with my parents. All right, I actually have a photograph of this, and it communicates, the scale is communicated better in the photograph. I thought it was going to look really cool as a painting because there are certain things about the photograph I didn't like, but it's not really making me feel as small as I did when I was there, or as I do when I look at a photograph, even though the photograph itself is small. So I think this painting needs to be a lot bigger to work. Make sense? Now, the point of view of this one is also super zoomed in from somewhere really far away. So my next Yosemite painting, because zooming in really close to something that's large but far away, didn't work out. So I decided to work on a painting that was a big thing far away that looked small. Hope that makes sense. And that is right there. That's the one I'm working on now. And thinking about this one, here. I think it's working. I think it works better than the one in the living room that's all zoomed in. But I believe that this should also be a much larger painting and the feeling would be stronger. So what I did there is I reflected on the things that did and did not work in a few paintings, and you actually heard me plan for growth. I think this one needs to be larger. I think this one needs to be a photograph instead. When I paint trees, for this guy again, I'm going to use a smaller brush because it's going to help me improve. Make sense? Important information was my location when I took the photograph, yeah, where I was, how big the wall was, how big I was compared to it. Alright, next I'm going to reflect on this painting called Cactus Flower, okay? Or I'll explain important contextual information. So important information in this painting, right, just like we did with the other ones, is simply like the flower, the cactus, the salt lamp, right? Most of it is pretty readily visible. Important contextual information for this painting would be that it was morning, that I was getting ready for school, that I really like this plant, this cactus. It's one of my favorite ones. I just think it's pretty. I like the rocks in it. And it flowered, and it's never flowered before. And I was just so excited when I got up and I saw this beautiful white flower on this silly little cactus. I was so surprised that I had to stop everything I was doing and take a picture of it in the middle of trying to get to school, which I'm sure you know can be really stressful, right? So now, whenever I look at this painting, I feel like it's morning, and I experience the joy of seeing that flower for the first time again. How surprising it was. I think a little piece of important information here is that little bud poking behind this flower. It's kind of like hope for the future as well. Okay? Hope I'm doing a good job. Alright, but why? Why do we need to reflect? What is this going to do for me? Alright, let's get this all nice and still. What is it going to do for me? Why? Alright. There are... I wish we could get closer for you. There are 5 reasons that we reflect. 5 things that it can do for us. Number 1, we get a better idea, or we get better at what we're doing instead of just doing the same thing over and over again. So for example, I had mentioned using a different size of brush for the smaller trees. That's going to help me be better at painting. It helps us become a problem solver, a better problem solver, and not just in art, but in other areas of our lives as well. It helps us develop tolerance, empathy, and goodwill towards other people because we begin understanding each other at a deeper level. It makes us feel like we have control over ourselves and the things that we do, since we're thinking about our experiences and asking ourselves tough questions about why they might have happened or what we contributed towards it. So we are able to make choices that come out better in the future. And it helps ease the pain of tough times in life because you're able to contextualize it and work through it and understand that you will be able to grow. Oh, that's not that question. All right. We make art because, so this is a good place to start, right? Oh my gosh, this is so much information. How am I going to know all those things to talk about? Well, first of all, I'll provide you with some questions. Second, you can start by identifying the reason you're making art. We make art so we can change the opinions of other people, so we can communicate our values, so we can translate experiences across space and time, right? These objects, this art that we make, even when we move on from this life, they're still there and people are still looking at them and they may be relating to us in an experience that we had even though we will never be in the same room or maybe even speak the same language. Art also stores the memories of our community or our society. So just in the same way that it translates experiences, it stores those experiences so we can go back and look at them as a culture or a society or a person and see where we come from and why our culture might be the way it is today, how it grew to be there. My question for you is, what are you going to add to the memory of Sanawa? How are you going to add? To start, there are 5 purposes for art. So you can, for each piece of art or project that you do, choose one of these purposes to help guide you. You can make it for ceremonial reasons, right? Religious reasons. You can make it to tell a story. You can make it to do a job, perform a task, like our sketchbook. You can use it to help other people see from your point of view. And you can do it to express your feelings. That is our homework video on reflecting and explaining important information.